the creator economy. It seems big, it's booming, and it's basically clicks, numbers, and likes. But how does anyone actually make money? If you've ever wondered that, I'm introducing you to Meredith Dean, who's not only an amazing digital hype woman, but she's grown her business from 0 to hundreds and thousands of followers. And we're going to show you how you can level up your social this year on Coffee and Conversations.
All right, Meredith, we made it. 2026. We did it, girl. Look at us go.
I can't believe it. Here we are. And also, I just love you. I'm glad that we're here.
I do too. So Meredith was one of the first just incredible people that I got to meet in Charlotte. And so, something that I think that we both had in common is just the fact that we have really high energy, excited about people kind of personalities. And I was excited for you to be here today because I think the new year just brings this new sense of, okay, I've got this. I'm going to go crush my dreams. I'm going to do it. But then also the whole rest of the year can really creep up on your butt. And all of a sudden you're just right back to where you started. But you are a true definition of seeing an opportunity, seizing it, and then helping other people do the same. So like, I just
Am I pulling out the tissues already?
Already. That would be your record. But Meredith, something that is incredible that you do is you help other people really recognize their potential through your coaching business. But before we dive into that, like I would just love for you to share with us how you made it to Charlotte. What actually brought you here?
Yeah. Wow. We're really bringing it back. I feel like this is also really special because this year marks my 10th year in Charlotte. So 2026, it's really exciting. I came in 2016. I went to the University of Georgia. I studied digital and broadcast journalism. So I really, really respect journalists and everything that you're doing day to day.
She's the one person who's not like, the media, we hate you.
Absolutely not. Also, we'll talk about this later, but why journalists make the best content creators too. But so that was my background. I love Georgia so much. Grew up in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta. And then I heard about this job with CBS Inside Edition with Deborah Norville. And it was because I was working at the Peabody Awards. So these are awards for stories that matter. And the dean of my journalism college was talking to Deborah and she had said, hey, I'm looking for a new assistant. Do you know anyone? Put my name out there, said, here's her website, meredithdean.com. See what you think. We got on the phone, had a phone conversation, and it shows you why personal brand is so important. I didn't even have to have an in-person interview. It was, when are you moving to New York? After that conversation and seeing my digital brand and my Instagram and all of the different things. So this was back in 2014.
I was going to say, you said 2014, 2016.
Yeah.
So that was kind of before like every baby that was born has to be branded by the time it, gets out of the hospital. So
it was before personal brand.
Yeah, that was kind of before the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was funny because a lot of, there's some frat guys in college who are saying, why would you have a website? You're not a model. You're not a dancer, a singer, or, why would you have this? And I was able to get all these different internships at Fox 5 in Atlanta, at CNN International. And I love being able to tell people's stories, especially people whose voices aren't heard typically, so marginalized communities. And so then moved to New York, loved it. I was obsessed with working at CBS Inside Edition. And then I heard about this job with Ryan Seacrest. So Ryan Seacrest has these children's hospitals around the country that have a radio and TV station.
Wow.
So once again, the Georgia connection. Ryan went to Georgia. His sister Meredith, ironically, went to Georgia. And then the woman that was running that studio but was opening up the Nashville studio, her name is Meredith. And she was looking for someone to take over her job. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I'm able to work with children who have cancer or any kind of really difficult situation that they've been through regarding their health, be able to help distract them and entertain them through radio and TV and celebrity interviews. So I moved from New York to Charlotte for that job. I had never been to Charlotte except to look at Davidson for college as an option because my dad went to Davidson and moved to Charlotte.
Wow.
So sorry, that was a long explanation.
No, that was
but
a beautiful explanation. But I mean, this is, and I'd heard kind of pieces of this. So selfishly, I wanted to hear the full story just from you. But also just to show people the journey that life can take you, that can really have so many twists and turns. But something that I think was incredible about you is that you went from a more traditional TV and reporting role in media to creating your own entity in the Dean's List, and then also helping other people. So when you went from working for other people to working for yourself, what did that transition look like? At what point were you like, I love what I'm doing,
yeah,
but I am being called, I'm being pushed, something is keeping me up at night, telling me I have to do something different?
Yeah, I love that question. I'm definitely a very mission-centered person, and whatever I'm doing, thank you. Whatever I'm doing, it really has to fuel me while serving others. And my dad instilled that in me since I was little. Is our prime purpose in this life is serving others, and it's a quote from the Dalai Lama. But with my family's nonprofit, we've been building girls' schools, wells, and clinics in Western Kenya through Habitat Aid Initiative, because my dad lived in Kenya for a long time. Whole story, got malaria and typhoid, had to come back to the U.S., but I want to be able to help my family's nonprofit financially too. And living in New York was very, very expensive.
Yes.
So I thought of the Dean's List because of all these parts of my digital brand. I thought I can help other people get their dream jobs. I can help other people with building their brands, but also give back to Habitat Aid. So that's where Dean's List came from, was way back in 2015. I had the idea and started this company in my little dorm. It was like a dorm room almost. I could touch my clothes from my bed.
Right.
I had rats and mold in
very New York.
Very New York, and I loved it. I love this place.
Rats.
But
Make
so,
them sweaters.
rats are fine. Rats are fine.
We love an animal. We love an animal. You're basically Cinderella, is what you're saying.
I am wearing light blue, and I'm blonde.
Wearing light
so.
blue.
Makes sense. So there's Pizza Rat. You remember Pizza Rat was a really big viral thing at that point.
Yeah, I remember Pizza Rat.
But anyway, so personal brand, yay, Dean's List. I was able to do my 5 to 9 was Dean's List, and my 9 to 5 was my day job or corporate.
Right.
So I was building Dean's List outside of work this entire time, right? And for 7 years, I was at Levine Children's Hospital here for Ryan Seacrest. So once I was done with my 9 to 5, I would go work on Dean's List. So, I mean, I love working because it doesn't feel like work. It was always purpose driven.
Right.
After I had been at Seacrest Studios for about 7 years, it's like a train hit me. It was like, you are called, you've got to move on to your next thing to help other people. If you go all in, you make, instead of your 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, you make this your 9 to 5, you will 9 to thrive, per se. And it really is amazing how the world was able to open up. And then I was still able to volunteer at Levine Children, so I didn't have to let go of it because it was such a huge part of my identity and these kids and their families. And I still support Levine Children's now. So it's interesting. You can make things work if you really believe in it. But I also recognize that there's a ceiling. When you are at a 9 to 5 at a corporate job,
right,
you only can make whatever that is for that job. Even if you get a promotion, there's still going to be a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to have to ask someone for time off. And I was starting to get all these opportunities through Marinator, through my personal social media. I wanted to be able to pick up and go and move anywhere in the world at any point, whatever I felt like it.
Right.
Also, things are changing politically in the world. And didn't always agree with things that were happening in this country under a certain person. And I'm very open about my beliefs and my politics and human rights there. But anyway, I figured this would be a great way to finally embrace what freedom looks like.
Right.
And I was 30 at the time. And it's funny that my dad went full-time with his company at 30. So it just was
very full circle.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just talked your ear off about that. But.
Well, that's kind of why you're here. Like They didn't come to hear me. They came to hear you. But I think that's what's so special about you and what we've been looking at. Coffee and Conversations was created because I personally was kind of on a journey just to make bigger, bolder choices. And we're talking to people who at some point felt that they just had to step away from whatever that safety, the security, Ohavia, who we all love. She and I were talking about walking away from insurance, walking away from that paycheck that even if you're not great at your job that week, like, the paycheck's going to hit, but
absolutely
working, like you said, the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9. But the reality is when you decide to run your own business, you are working 24/7. Like, I don't care what the tote bags and the slay all day mugs say. The reality is that it does become very all-consuming. But I think something that you do really well is focus on being present. And I'm not sure how you do it because you're also constantly pushing out content. So that's another thing I wanted to ask you is when people are looking at things and people are trying to develop a personal brand, if you had to start all over tomorrow, what do you think that would look like?
If I started all over tomorrow,
like if this was 2026 and like Marinator hadn't been born yet and somebody was like, this is the year I'm going to create a brand, and I'm a client coming to you on the Dean's List and I'm like, hey,
Yes, help me a little bit. So I do this really special exercise with a lot of my clients. I call it the forget-me-not exercise. And a forget-me-not is a light blue flower. You see, I have light blue everything. It's my brand colors. But what I do is the petals are the parts of you, right? It's the different parts of your brand. The center is your brand. The center of the flower, the pistil, is your actual brand. So these different petals, I have them write down 3 things. 3 things that you're really good at. 3 things that make you super unique, 3 things that you're really proud of, maybe accomplishments, 3 things that you identify as. Are you a Black queer woman? Are you a Mexican American citizen? I mean, whatever you want to put out there. But you really want to write these things out, because a lot of times we might talk about it with people, but we don't actually write out some of these things, and it helps build confidence too. This is helping you identify what your brand is and what your niche is. So for me, I am all over the place in my content, right? I'm talking about travel, global travel recs, Charlotte, empowerment, very focused on minority-owned, female-owned businesses. So I am not able to niche down, but technically I do tell my clients, find your niche. What is it that makes you excited to wake up 4 in the morning? One of my clients, she's on HGTV, Shannon Evans. She loves to help widows and also women in general how to DIY, because a lot of times their husbands were typically the ones that were building the things in the house, or they took care of certain things. She wants to teach women, and widows are also not older women, in their 80s.
You could be widowed at 22. Yeah.
Exactly. But empowering them to know you can do these things on your own, and you also don't even need to hire anyone. But we're not taught a lot of those skills. So for her, we figured out what are the things that make her different than everyone else. And she can transform spaces and lives and focus on these female-owned minority or female-owned or entrepreneurs and just women in general. So thinking about what makes you different and what makes you light up. And if you focus on, there's 3 different buckets of content. So for her, it's helping women and widows. It's the DIY side of things, and also being a female builder and using tools. And so focusing on those things, you can build faster, and you can get a faster community that way. When you're kind of all over the place, people can't identify what you do. We even talked on the phone recently where you're like, she does a lot of things.
Yeah, like she does all the things. But to me, it comes off as just, like, how everybody has like the friend who knows, they know about the parties beforehand, like they know about the stores before they open, like or they always like to know somebody, hey, do you know? Yeah, I got 4 people, and I feel like you are that person, but it's almost being kind of that centrifuge of Charlotte, I feel like is something that you've done really well, and helping guide people.
Well, thank you.
But what do you think is the biggest roadblock that your clients have? Because so much of that I think comes from a natural confidence that you have. And something that we talked about on the phone yesterday was, you called it a rampage. And I was like, no, we're going to have a branding moment. We're going to rebrand this as a mission, because you do get driven by really specific causes. And I think it's always very mission driven for you. But with other people who might not have that natural confidence, who might not have been in front of the camera before, all of these things that sometimes creating a personal brand requires.
Right.
Like, what do you think is a big roadblock? People come in, they're like, here's my money, coach me. And then they're like, never mind, I want to go home.
It is the fear of being seen for who they are. And I wrote down a quote over here earlier because I think that it would be helpful.
This is how you know she was a journalist for. She comes with receipts. We don't misquote.
But a lot of people, they want everything to be perfect. And it can't, nothing is perfect. Humankind is not perfect. Our lives are not perfect. And if you start ugly in 2026 or start imperfect, people relate to that more. No one is relating to the perfect feed where all the pictures are fantastic. People want to be part of the messiness, and they want to be learning with you. And I think that's when I also saw a ton of growth in the things that I was doing. Is I stopped trying to have this perfect blue feed, and make and have everything edited perfectly. And I even still make mistakes in the stuff that I do, but I put that in there and I say, hey, correction in here. I actually, they weren't cobblestones. It was a paved path. I used the wrong word for it, and that's okay. As long as you have good intentions, you're empowering other people, you're uplifting other people, and people can tell when you're passionate about what you're talking about. you can tell immediately when someone's like, I'm talking about this just because I have to.
Yeah, someone made me come here.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what's so great about having your own social media and being a creator is you get to choose your own story, which was another thing with news for me that was hard is I couldn't always choose my own story. And I always wanted to talk about really uplifting, positive things, which I know that you're doing so well through the QC Life and everything that you have here. But I think that that's beautiful about a content creator is you get to pick those communities that you want to highlight. You get to pick that female-owned business or pick a place that's in Charlotte that you know maybe needs some help and is struggling.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And like you said, mentioning news, and I feel blessed that like I have this opportunity. I have a boss that saw a need for that. You know, I have a station that made the space for that.
Yes.
But I also really respect like our evening anchors, our MJs, our reporters out there who have to go and talk to parents after they've lost a child.
Oh my
or talk to a
gosh,
family
yep.
after they've lost everything in a fire. And they have to approach that with grace and compassion while also informing the community, while also empowering them to, are there safety precautions you need to now take in your household? What do you need to know without that fear mongering, which I think, you know, I can talk to you about this, like the media gets a bad rap for. But the reality is probably that's a 22-year-old fresh out of college who was given a camera and now has to go cover a murder. And do it with the grace, attention, and detail that also a senior anchor at a network is going to be demanded of. So I think there's realities of that that are really challenging and might not be for everybody. But you also made a career being a storyteller without a network backing, without a station backing. So what would you say to somebody who is a younger version of you or I, and, you know, even though we're 29 in our heads, forever, you know, may the Botox be with me, but, you know, can you just speak to that part of you for a minute? You know, when you see young women like, or people wanting to come into the journalism space, but maybe they feel like they're having to squish themselves into a specific mold to fit that job.
Oh, it is so important to advocate for yourself and listen to your gut feeling. Women are always right with their gut feeling. If you feel like something is off or something no longer serves you, you've got to lean into it because you only have a certain amount of time in your life. And I hate to bring up you only live once, but I really recognized it when I was about to hit 30, where I thought, oh my gosh, if I stay in a corporation, I'm never going to be able to pick up and move to Dubai. It just randomly, I'm going to have to ask someone for time off. This is my life, you know, and you know, even within my first year, I did not make that much at all, not whatsoever. But it's all about social capital and the way that you treat other people around you, and your community is currency. And the ways that I've been able to do all sorts of things is on such a tight budget. But I'm doing everything I wanted to do because of the way I treated other people and having those connections and looking for ways to support other people too. When you're constantly looking out for how can I lift other people up and not expect anything in return, other people notice that authenticity. And so I would say just keep following what you know feels right in every situation. And if you get a tinge in your stomach or you feel your body getting hot about something, you got to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because that intuition is so real, but especially for women.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting to me when I look back and I'm like, there's so many situations where I force myself into coping with something. And I'm looking back, I'm like, why did what was I trying to prove there?
Yes.
You know, like the either the suffering or the anxiety or the whatever it was, or, you know, whatever felt awful. You know, but I was like, well, I got to stay. Nobody's going to think I'm a quitter. It's like, who cares? Like, you know, and I still have to ask myself those questions, but in your head, like going back to your blue feed, because I think too, there's a block for a lot of women our age or creators that are interested in our age, but we came from a time back before the TikToks, kids. There was Instagram feed, and you could post a latte and say Throwback Thursday, and it was okay.
Extra or rise, pick your filter.
Pick your fighter. But also then there became, I would say, like the first wave of influencers. And it was, first of all, I was like, are all these people just billionaires because their Christmas trees have gold flakes on them and their eyelashes match their chandeliers? It was just wild. I was like, who are these, the Billboards and the Vanderbilts? Like, I'm very confused at who these people are. And it was extremely curated. Now, it was beautiful, but the Instagram feeds looked like like magazines and museum walls. And I think that's something that's changing. But for us that came through that and we're like, oh, I couldn't touch this Pinterest board with a 10-foot pole. It's really hard to just jump in and be like, here's what I'm doing today. Like, here's how I got my kid to eat a vegetable. Ha! Like, you know, even though all of those are really great ideas. Like I found somebody the other day who was like, I do dumb dinner. She's now like one of my favorite accounts. I was like, I love dumb dinner. Yeah. What is dumb dinner? You put artichoke chip on chicken and now we're eating it? Great. Let's do it.
I love that. I'm going to go follow her.
Let's do it.
It's great.
Yeah.
But it's unlearning what we've grown up with when it comes to that perfection. Even as millennials, we were also promised that we're going to be, if we work hard enough, we stay in a job long enough, we're gonna end up having the house. People can't afford that anymore. We have an affordability crisis. Yeah. And when you look at someone's perfect life and all the things they're buying, no one can afford that anymore. So what's actually being rewarded now in the algorithm, which I'm really excited about, and TikTok has influenced, is the messiness behind the feed. And, you know, what do you relate more to? The perfect outfit that someone has curated, or is it, I just spilled this coffee all over me on my way here. Right. I'm behind on these things. Yeah. We relate to the humanness in other people. And so, you know, I love it. I love the way that it's shifting. Yeah. And even with the introduction of AI. Well, AI has been around a while, but we're seeing it more often now. I encourage people to be the anti-AI, show the humanness behind everything, because you can't replace a human's opinions on a certain thing or humans helping other humans in a situation. Everyone has the ability to be an influencer if you use your platform for good. And anyone has the ability to go viral. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. So everyone's voice matters, but it's up to you to use your platform for a good reason.
Yeah. And I think that's something that you do incredibly well. And I wanted to kind of talk about the freedom that you've now provided yourself. Like you said, not only in terms of mobility and moving, but you are so vocal on social issues, especially when Charlotte was very, very chilly, very icy around here. And you were such an advocate for making sure that you had places and spaces that were vetted informational sources. And I think that's your journalistic integrity, always being connected, which I love. And there are certain things that have popped up recently that I've seen you post and you said, hey, I can't speak on this yet because I'm still researching. I know everyone's asking me what I think. I've got to wait. And I think you don't let that pressure to respond get to you. So when you are helping other people and creating their brands, if there are situations around them that they feel strongly about, but maybe need to be mindful of this, something we talked about on the phone of the safety of their children, of maybe they have animals that play in a yard. Maybe they do have a 9-to-5 that could be in jeopardy. How can you still be authentic, use your platform for power that you're building, and also just being mindful of how you're actually articulating those feelings?
I love that question, and I love the background that you just gave. Number one is the research part of it. So I'm finding who are the people who have been doing the work for years, because I'm just coming in I'm going to use my platform to amplify the people that really understand it, the people that have degrees in this. So, you know, for example, Safe Alliance is a nonprofit here that has been helping survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence for a very long time. So let's direct people to them, the people who have been doing this work. They are day in, day out working with these women. So I'm better suited to tell someone about what they're doing. Or the Humane Society, for example, they understand working with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department or animal control here, and also knowing, you know, how to take care of these animals too. If you're picking something off the street, you see a litter of kittens, how are you going to take care of them? But you need to make sure that you're directing people to the right organizations who've been doing the work for a long time. And then also, when it comes to even influencing, or you're about to work with a company, I like to see where those companies have donated in the past. Where have they been in the news recently? So that's another thing, is if you are attaching yourself to a brand, making sure you understand what that brand has also been representing, because people will associate you with those things. And, you know, I've even made mistakes in the past myself. And so now I've learned I've really, really got to do that research. And no one's perfect, obviously. But when you are doing the time to take your time and do that research, you're good to go.
Yeah. And that's something that can be really challenging. And I think is such an opportunity for journalists who maybe want to transition out of the space and into individual content development, is taking those research skills that you have to have to present on-air information and translating that. But I think that's so unique. It's something so special about you. And something you mentioned earlier, just about your traveling and that your family's nonprofit. So the fact that you're just so mission driven, I think, is incredible. But what kind of change in you do you think came from the physical travel of just meeting other people and seeing other people? I've heard you say multiple times, as a Caucasian, blonde, blue-eyed person, there's a certain social responsibility I have and a certain gravity that my messages have.
Right.
So how do you feel like you've been able to use that just by physically traveling your body around the world and finding out more about other people?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will assume things based on our appearance, right? That's just how humans can be. So Americans a lot of times do not speak another language, something that's really important for me. And I'm really bad at math, but I'm really good at languages. And I love being able to connect to people based on a certain language. So I just went to go see my cousin, who's also blonde, blue-eyed. She's a dolphin trainer in Curacao.
That was a great trip. Go check out her reels, and that was awesome.
Well, she's amazing. She's helping all these families. I mean, I can really get into it, but she does dolphin therapy. But she was teaching me papiamentu. And before I got there, we kind of went over some papiamentu phrases, which was really important. It's how I actually got one of my collaborations when I was out there. Was I spoke to them in their native language, saying, and instead of just saying hi, using their languages there, and there's Dutch, and then there's papiamentu, the local language. But it was really cool that they saw that I was culturally competent, right? So just something as simple as understanding hi, hello, how are you, thank you. Dankjewel is thank you. But it was just, I love learning those languages because it's an immediate way to connect, and learning people's music. I feel like when you're hearing another culture's style of music and being able to dance, that's an easy way to connect with people. Yes. And I think a lot of times people will assume as an American, all you care about is your own country and your own customs. But when people see we're not just so isolationist, we love learning about other people, and our whole country is made up of immigrants.
Immigrants, yes.
We're all immigrants.
One more time for the people in the back.
You get it. And so I just think it's really beautiful when I'm able to go to these countries and say, I might not agree with what's happening right now in our country. No, this is what I appreciate. Let me learn from you all and learn more about your politics, more about what is your voting system, right. And when you learn about other people's issues in their own countries and vice versa, and you have really beautiful exchanges about religion. I mean, it is incredible how similar we are, and every human being just wants to be loved, be seen, and be understood. And we develop more empathy when we meet other people from other cultures. And I love that TikTok is doing this. We're seeing what life looks like in Russia. We're seeing what life looks like day to day in China. And it's making people realize, oh my gosh, it's not the way the world is. And
right.
And the kind of gun violence we have here, it's not like this everywhere. And there's something wrong with what's happening right now, and mental health, and learning how other people are supporting wellness. I mean, even when I went to Austria, and one of my best friends, she's German, but she has a chalet out in Austria and owns business here in Charlotte. But she was showing us the importance of wellness for people in Austria and how it's really affordable. So we spent a whole day for New Year's for $60, and we were able to have a massage and enjoy these hot tubs and pools, and they just really care about meditating. And it's fascinating how it's affordable to have wellness there too.
Right.
But anyway, I covered a lot. That's my ADD here, but
no. Well, I mean, listen, we've done a whole segment on that, so we love a neurodivergent girly over here. But to me, that's something that is so interesting, and that I loved about traveling was just that I maintain that everyone just loves to be around people who love them. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves great food. Everyone loves a fire playlist. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what spices were in your food. It doesn't matter the notes that were in the music. Like, chances are, like, there's going to be something that everybody loves. And I do think that there's a separation that happens when you don't understand something. It can be scary. Like math. I'm terrified of math because I don't understand most of it.
Just right here.
Mediocre math. But and like you said, it makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel scared because I could potentially feel stupid. Yeah. So I can imagine all of those feelings amplified if I didn't understand a country I was going to be going to, and that feeling can be kind of pushed towards anything. And I think when it's pushed towards other people is when we start to feel hate or fear of another group of people. And you just seem to really be breaking those down by your authenticity, by your conversations you have with people. And like you mentioned, the the affordability. I've seen you post like, hey, here's what couch surfing is, like, hey, maybe this is a collaboration. We have a fire 2-story building or we're away for the weekend, but you're also like, I am sleeping on a sofa and this is great. And look what I'm sleeping in, so how do you strike that balance of the realities of your business requires you to bring in money to sustain yourself and to pay all your own bills and do all the big girl things that we have to do, and then also making sure that everything's on message?
Yeah, I look for everything on a budget because I think about what would other people also want to do. Most people want to do things on a budget and they don't have limitless funds. And travel can be very expensive for people. So I'm going to share this knowledge so other people are able to do the same, because I know it'll make them more empathetic and learn more about other people. So I go back to social capital. I typically know someone in these different countries that I'm going to. So that's been really helpful. I in my past relationships, I had dated someone who was Middle Eastern and developed friendships with a bunch of Turkish folks, and I was able to go live in Turkey there. That was when I was 17. I had a pen pal back in high school. So she was a correspondante. So that I was able to go live in France, and I ended up working for the company that did the travel exchange. So lived in France, the west of France for a while, and lived with my boss's mother. Wasn't allowed to speak English in the house. So, that I was able to live there for free. And then I was working there because of that connection that I had from high school. And then knowing that family in Turkey. So a lot of times it's knowing someone, but there's trusted house sitters. So if you go take care of someone's cat or dog or just any of their pets, you can live anywhere in the world during that time frame. You just interview with them. So that's how I stayed in Dubai for free. I took care of this amazing woman's 2 cats. She was also 32 years old. Name is Susanna from the UK. Or you can couch surf. One of my friends, Sydney, who's here, she's an amazing muralist who did Luminous Lane over here and directed 42 different artists. She and her fiance, they live in Australia part-time. So I'm going to go be with them in Australia. So it is social capital a lot of times. But going back to your original question, you were asking about
just being transparent and like how you're doing things. But I think you redirect it even better, because like you keep mentioning social capital or who you know. And this is something when Angel Garrett, our amazing Hallmark actor, who will always be our Mr. Christmas, by the way. But he talked about when you're reaching out for somebody and asking them, hey, who's your casting agent, or how'd you get this job or whatever? How can people be better about networking and gaining knowledge, gaining connections without being selfish? Because I think a lot of times, and I'm sure you got this too, is, we'll get emails that are just like, how'd you get your job? Or, well, how'd you get there? Or whatever. And it's very much like, give me all your secrets. Give me, how can we be a better social catalyst, a better social connector, to make sure we're also giving that person who might have the knowledge, have the connection, have the know-how? How can we be better at meeting them to connect?
Yeah. If you can't meet people in person, it's following certain accounts that are giving a lot of value, which is essential. Also being more like a journalist, where I think one of the love languages we don't talk about is curiosity. So asking people questions. I genuinely feel like when I'm asking someone questions, when you're asking someone questions, they feel valued because, and not necessarily asking for something, but just wanting to learn more about their journey. So doing that even on LinkedIn for certain brands that you love, they might not respond, but that's no big deal. But you saying, hey, I really love this story that you guys did recently, or this post that you did recently. You can reach out if you have LinkedIn Premium and you can get the free trial for 14 days or whatever. You can reach out to these people directly saying, I'm really just admiring your entire career path and the history that you have. I noticed you went to University of Tennessee or University of Georgia, and I noticed that you did this recently in a campaign for Tarte, for example, as a makeup brand. Can you just tell me more about that experience and how you got there? And people are more likely to respond if, say, they're an alumna of that same university, or they see that they've done the research on them and they want to help. Human beings do want to help other people. But when you just get a DM out of nowhere saying, hey, I want to know how you got that. How'd you get that connection? That doesn't feel good. It's not an exchange. So, but if it's someone that's saying, I've been following you for a while. I've noticed what you've been doing here. Would you have 5 minutes to chat on the phone, or 10 minutes to chat on the phone? You don't have to be on Zoom. Maybe they don't have the money to even go get coffee. They don't have the time to go get coffee. That's okay. A phone call, you can do that for about 10 minutes. So I think that's how you develop the social capital. And then following people that are giving out really good advice there. That's always helpful. And when you have genuine intentions for wanting to build something and helping other people can see that. They can also see through when it's not. So Just be you.
Yeah. And two, I think it's one of those things, like you said, when I see that someone took the time, even with QC Life, if they want their business on there and they're like, I really loved the segment you did with the Petite Chef, or I really loved when you guys covered this, versus somebody reaching out to me, pitching me something. And then I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. Tell me more about you. And they're like, is this a radio or a podcast? Or I'm like, oh, you're dead to me. Like, you know what I mean?
It doesn't feel as,
like you said, it doesn't feel good because it's like, oh, you don't even know who I am. It's like somebody would show up on a date with you and they don't even know your name. It's like, well, wait a minute. Because clearly there's just an end result that they're seeking. So I want us to be better connectors. And I think you do a great job of that. And something that you do, and I would love to talk about just how you schedule it and make it happen, because you are very present. I've never been with you where when your phone's always lit up or whatever, you're somehow talking to me, but also then I'll see you on Instagram later and I'm like, when did she even take all these photos? Like what was I doing with, and so how do you schedule your time to where you are an effective business leader, but you're also a kick-ass friend and a really baller community member? Because somehow you do all of that. And I know you and I have the same amount of hours, but you seem to be a lot more effective with yours than mine. So.
First off, I am not more effective at all. I'm amazed by everything that you do. I am blown away because, you have your 9 to 5, right? So keeping in mind that I prioritize my sleep, number one. I get 8 hours every single night.
One more time.
8 hours every night. Do it. I'm going to be that person that leaves early. Or I'm going to end up sleeping in late. Mm-hmm. That's something that I prioritize as number one. Now, also, as I say this, I know that is a privilege because I don't have children. Mm-hmm. I don't even have a dog. I don't have a plant that I'm taking care of, and I don't have a husband. These are all things I do want one day, but that is how I'm also able to manage that time. And so it's give or take, right? It's there's harmony in that. I am looking for someone that will end up, lifting up my life in that way, and that will be beautiful.
Or a dog.
Or a dog, yeah.
Depending on the priority. What is the priority order list here?
But I also travel so much that's why I don't have a dog as much as I love dogs so much, but I'm trying to be a good owner by not having one. So keeping in mind, that is how I balance some of those things. Next thing is my priority is to stay present, because the real person interactions, that is the real social capital, right? And if I'm sitting here on my phone the entire time, how am I going to connect with anyone? And something else that I remembered, this is a story that I heard when I was in New York, and it really changed my mind, was this girl, she was in the elevator and she was just texting the whole time. And she's going up the floors, up to like the 20th floor or whatever. The doors open, someone walks out, and the woman next to her goes, oh my gosh, did you know that was Kylie Jenner? And I'm not even into the Kardashians and all the Jenners and everything, but the fact that she was in the same elevator and could have had that conversation, she was too into her phone. And you just never know what opportunities or people that you can meet if you are constantly looking down, not to mention what it's actually doing to our spines when we're looking down all the time. So I try to do things really fast, or even schedule a time outside of maybe that event where I can take content because I want to be present with the person with me. Also, I'm typically in my bed. I'm thinking about doing a series where I'm showing people what I look like when I post, in my bed on the toilet or something. Honestly, compared to what the actual event was and what I looked like in those pictures, because it's such a difference, right? So find the place and time where you can have that time to yourself to actually post. I actually do not schedule any of my posts. The reason for that, a scheduler actually kills your content in the algorithm.
I was wondering that. I was like, does that make it worse?
Now, that's hard on people. I know you might need to schedule things, especially if you're working for a corporation, but the app wants to keep you on the app, right? The whole idea is keeping you on there so it notices if you're using a third party, or even the Meta automatic scheduler.
Right. Or even TikTok has its own scheduler. Is it still doesn't like that as much? Rats. So maybe set a reminder on your phone, hey, post that draft.
So I have an hour time slot on my phone every single day. And this is because I'm in social media. I'm able to do this every single day. I interact 15 minutes before I post with other people's accounts. Then I post at that exact time that works in my insights. So a lot of people say, what's the best time to post? You need to go look at your professional dashboard and your insights. It's never on weekends because people are hopefully not on their phones.
Doing stuff,
Yeah, so I recommend typically Mondays or Wednesdays. One of my clients, 9 p.m. is her best time. For me, 3 p.m. is my best time on a Wednesday and on Mondays. So keeping in mind what time is best, and then do it in that time frame. After you've posted, you're going to spend 15 minutes commenting back on what other people are putting in there, because you're trying to build real community. and you're not going to build authentic community if you post and ghost.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are guilty of, they just post and then they leave the app.
I'm like, oh, I posted. Could you go me?
But it's a relationship, right? Like if you're in a relationship with your girlfriend, for example, you're not doing anything to support them and you're not doing anything to say, hey, I think you look great in that.
Yeah.
Then how would you expect anything back? Why would anyone comment on your stuff? So keeping in mind that, we want to give as well.
Yeah. And something you and I talked about yesterday that I thought was great was also that the algorithm isn't necessarily meant for you. And, before it was more of a chronological timeline, things are always changing and they're in the business of business. So
Correct.
like, don't get mad at the algorithm. Like it doesn't personally have a vendetta against you. Like I think people do kind of a weird fear mongering on social media platforms because they're like, you're shadow, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, you're probably just doing a little something wrong. So, I mean, I think you do a great job of just finding quality content and it's not always about the numbers. You shared recently on a podcast that, this was your magnum opus. This was about to be your award-winning, piece of cinema and it got a couple of likes, but wound up getting her the biggest brand deal.
Oh, it was a $15,000 client and it got 10 likes. It matters who are the people behind the likes.
Right.
So the other thing is stop thinking, did something perform well, and take out the idea of how many likes did I get. It is the quality that you're putting out there, but also think about social media. We've never been able to reach this amount of people with any kind of traditional form of advertising. This way, if you get 90,000 views on something, I want you to put a person to each of those 90,000 views. It's the size of Bank of America Stadium over here. You have one person in each of those seats. That's insane that are all watching at the same time, right? So, and then thinking about if you have 40 likes on something, that's going to fill up this whole room or this whole section. Think about how long it takes to put it on an event for 40 people to listen to one thing you have to say.
Right.
And you have the ability to have that platform every day for people to hear your voice and you have something important to say. We got to use it as a tool. Social media is like a power tool. You can either use it to saw off your arm or build a house. And
that's such a great thing.
We're going to build the house. We're not going to saw off our arm.
Yeah. Say that for me one more time.
So, and I got this from, there's a social media for mental health for teens in Boston. I got it from the director there. But social media is like a power tool. You can use it to saw off your arm or you can use it to build a house.
That's so good. I love that.
We're going to build the house.
We're going to build the house. Yes. So we're going to build the house. And if we're building the house and, earlier I loved how you talked about your forget-me-not thing and just looking at your own pillars. What is your biggest piece of advice with your clients with Dean's List when you want to make sure, because as much as I love all the platforms I think they serve in their own way, it's like you said, it's how you use the tool.
Yes.
But you also are a big advocate of not building a house on someone else's property. So you also have your own website, you have your own email list, you have your own clients where if social media disappeared tomorrow, and we've seen apps go away. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Vine, MySpace.
I missed the Vine days.
Missed the Vine.
That's how I learned how to code was MySpace. Loved MySpace.
Like, back in the day, like that was the thing is like, I think that was kind of all of our intro to coding is like, if you wanted a specific song or something, we were up in there. But, how do you also make sure that you are not fully depending on some other platform to make sure that your livelihood is okay?
I'm so glad that you asked that question. So building your personal brand is essential. Even also if you have a day job, you can be a thought leader in anything. So make sure that you're thinking about what is my specific expertise that I bring to the world? What is my story that the world cannot ignore?
Yeah.
And making sure that you are writing that on some kind of website. And you can use Wix, you can use Squarespace, you can use Weebly, GoDaddy. There's so many options that are free too for you to be able to have a portfolio.
It's like you can. Yeah.
AI will make it for you.
Like, don't be scared. You could literally go to GoDaddy. I worked with somebody the other day. We just typed in what they did and like everything filled in and we just swapped out the pictures for them. And I'm like, like, don't get lost in the minutia. And I feel like I'm talking to myself because it's me. And I'm like, no, because we gotta have a brand photo shoot. We gotta do this, that, and the other. Go get your mom with an iPhone and like go take photos of whatever you're doing.
Exactly. You can create your whole brand in under an hour, which is what I do with my social media coaching clients and brand clients is we're creating a media kit in less than an hour. Beacons is something that's really, really helpful. So free tip for y'all, but you can go to my profile at Marinator. I have my beacons in there. This is how I'm getting a lot of my brand deals, but you can make it for free. It's a young minority owned company. And it's so cool what I've been able to do because it showcases the different case studies of who I've worked with, my bio. It shows real metrics in real time from TikTok to Instagram to my engagement percentage.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful for brands to see what work you've done. And that's free. And that's a website right there. It's your portfolio of your work if you're a content creator. So realizing that you want progress over perfection.
Yeah.
You don't want to have progress paralysis. Just freaking do it. Just post it. Just do the thing, because all that can happen is that you're helping others and you're putting your voice out into the world and your story matters. So go make the website. And you also want to collect people's emails, because like you said, and I'm even worried about it myself, there could be a cyber attack at any point. I'm knock on wood, that's never going to happen. But if there is, it can take out all of these servers for Instagram, for TikTok, or we looked at even the TikTok ban not too long ago.
Right.
And this could change hands of ownership at any point. You have to collect people's direct email, direct contact info. Think back to gathering people's mail addresses.
Right.
You really need to have those direct forms of communication, because we don't want to be stuck with just what the algorithm is going to present to us. So on your website, have a way to maybe give someone a free PDF or the top 5 free tips in whatever your niche is, and you collect their email that way. So you're giving them something, but you're also taking their email.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. Like you said, also creating that exchange, not just like, do you want to stay in touch? Here's your email. Like, hey, if you download this, I will go ahead and present this to you.
Yes.
Which I absolutely love. So again, circling back to, this is a new year, new me. It's always a great opportunity. We love a tagline.
Yeah.
But if somebody said, okay, Meredith, like I'm here, I'm in it. What does a coaching process actually look like? I equate it to like going to the gym. And I think people don't necessarily take it the same as, but for me, if I spend money on something, best believe my ass is going. Like because then I'm like, if not, I'm losing money, even though I already spent it.
Yes.
But if I don't go, I'm losing money. So when somebody signs up and they want to be a client, or their business wants to be a client, they want to make this their year, what does that process just look like for them?
So I do either a 1 hour of coaching, which we get a ton done in that hour of coaching. I mean, I'm working through this whole thing. We're identifying your brand, what you stand for, what you believe in, and creating that bio for you. And anything else that you need, or any questions you've ever had about social media. And I'm giving you information I'm getting directly from Meta, so you can't find this anywhere else, which is really great.
Which is great.
Unless you're working with preferred creator. And then the other option is doing a package of 4. So the accountability, I've got to have accountability.
Yeah.
So we would just schedule out those different times for you to keep you updated on your content, give you new ideas. But also, I'm promoting my clients all the time. So I'm trying to give them the platform too, to be heard in what they're doing. So it's those sessions there, we're working through them. But to get started, I did come up with a couple of different things here, but thinking of what is your hobby that you really, really love on the side. So I know I talked about my 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9.
One day I'll have a talk show.
Amazing. Okay, so dogs is your thing.
Okay.
So we want to think about how can we monetize that in some way. And so what you can do is, if you are an expert on dogs, start doing that as one of your niches. Mm-hmm. So think about what are ways that you can educate people on products that are not testing on animals. How do you research that sort of thing? How are you taking care of a dog in ways that maybe someone who doesn't have a pet would be interested in knowing? Or, hey, this happened with my dog yesterday. Has this happened to anyone else? Mm. And you're building community that way. And you get excited about it. You get excited to talk about it. So why not start that today? Let's do that video today and just see. Like, always ask people what their opinions are and their experiences. People love giving their opinions on everything.
Do. And we live in the South. Y'all know we have opinions.
Exactly. So I say create a reel literally today, just saying, hey, this is something that I've run into as like a problem in my life, or maybe something I'm trying to figure out. What suggestions do you guys have? Or do you guys hate social media? I do too. What are some ways that you guys have used it in a way that's positive to help you? And so looking for ways to find solutions and bring people into it is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. So if we're tasking everybody to do this, because again, Meredith, she's probably going to text me later and be like, "Did you make a reel for Pink today? Did you
follow up?"
And that's something I love about you. Even before we got on, she was like, "Have you guys had a team picture yet? Should I get content of you?" And I'm like, "Can you sit down? We're talking. You're not working right now. Sit." But I think that's so great about you. And something I really want to talk about before we go, because you mentioned earlier, prioritizing your sleep. I know you were recently with Ohavia. You guys went to do like sauna suites or something and just had a girls' day. But one thing that she brought up that I thought was great that I'm horrible at was that there was a day that she's just off her phone, which blew my mind, mainly because I can't get anywhere without my GPS. But other than that, no Sacagawea here. But just being away from her phone for a day. So how do you make sure that you don't kind of get sucked into that scheduling, or like you mentioned earlier, just maintaining your presence? If somebody's got their 9 to 5, they want their 5 to 9 to start this year.
Yes.
How would you suggest they do that without losing themselves to an algorithm or to a platform?
Absolutely. I'm really proud of Behavior for doing that, because I can't. I tried to do no social Saturdays for a while, and I'm just not able to, especially for clients. So the most important thing is mental health and wellness. And the number one thing is a supportive tribe. Your supportive people that are around you. I know this with the friends that you keep. And we were talking about the rule of 33. So 33% of people in your life, you want these to be mentees or people that you want to help lift up. 33% of people in your life, you want to be your colleagues, people who are working at it the same way that you are. You're both in it together. So 33% of people there. Then 33% of people who are your mentors, people you look up to, people who are smarter than you, people that make you want to be better. So I'm surrounding myself by these people and spending time either talking on the phone, having fellowship with them in person. And we were laughing. I guess the other 1% would be like just spending time alone and recharging.
Right.
So, but the main thing is having those people in your life that you're taking time for. And if you don't have those people, which is also fine, I would recommend looking for that, whether it's through a Bible study, whether it's through a community group, a civic engagement group. Look for those people. And there's so many different groups that are here in Charlotte that you can look at. I actually posted a reel on that today on how to make Charlotte feel like home.
You did. It was great. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. But look for people that make you feel like you're at home, because when something goes wrong on social, or maybe something in your life, it's really, really difficult. I send out a group text to my people and they're like, we're in. What do you need? I got you. And it's your chosen family, which is really, really special. So having that, and then also putting your feet in the grass. So Native Americans did this, and it's grounding energy. And a lot of us were wearing shoes all day, every day.
Yeah.
And as children, we did this, but you were running out in the yard and your feet, your actual feet without socks, nothing, they touch the grass, and it's a grounding energy. And so looking back to that inner child and thinking about who were you back then and what brought you joy, leaning into that, putting your feet in the ground, and also I close my eyes and then I'll let the sun hit me. It's amazing what you can do in that moment if you just take 1 minute. It doesn't take much, 1 minute just to feel that and be part of the earth. That's my woo-woo side of me.
We love a woo. Oh, have you talked about woo? We were like, we love a woo moment.
Oh, and
I'll take whatever. Woo,
our entire time that we were at the spa over here, all we did was talk about God and just the connections that we have with people and like what our mission, our purpose is. She's just amazing. But the last one is take 30 seconds to thank someone that you have not thanked enough in your life. This is through a text. This could be your mom. This could be your sister. This could be a friend, your mentee. But it doesn't take long to just send that text, and it creates this ripple effect of love and light for others. So just take the time to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And so I just love that everything, that even though you are a business, but it can be based in service.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we lose that factor where the dollars can be overwhelming, the bills have to get paid. But I just think it's incredible how we've seen it with you, we've seen it with Ohavia, we've seen it with Will, all of these incredible entrepreneurs that we've had on the show that have just said, I was able to walk away from kind of those corporate restraints that aren't bad. I think there's so many wonderful things. We need people in corporate jobs because if not, everything would just fall apart.
100%.
And I think some people work really well inside of certain parameters. It feels
and structure.
It's
People
safe,
need
it's
structure.
It's great. But again, like two blonde neurodivergent queens, like, we kind of were like a pinball machine in there. It's like, oh my out. But I think that's another thing that companies and corporations can look at is what do I actually need this employee tied to a cubicle for? Can they be equally as effective doing something else? So, I just also wanted to ask you, if you are talking to brands, if you're talking to people hiring, if you're talking to corporations, how do you help your clients also, if they're not ready to be entrepreneurs yet, just translate those skills to, like you said, their dream job, what they want to do? What would you want to say to those corporations to look for in other people?
So I feel like everyone has their skill set that's really important to them. That's why that brand exercise I told you about, the flower forget-me-nots.
Yep.
You really want to write down the things that you're really good at. But when you're looking at, say you're looking at your dream job, you want to match every single bullet point that you see on there with the action verbs.
Yep.
Make sure that's matching an exact experience that you've had. And this can even be personal, but making sure that you are looking at what they have to offer and then what you can offer and matching that and getting the wording correct. And what you can do is on ChatGPT, if you want to use AI, take that description, even your current job description, and just word dump. Just start dropping, these are the experiences in my life. And then you're able to kind of match that and see these are the things that I'm really good at that I can offer to someone.
I love that. My only last thing for you is, first of all, is there anything else in your notes that we didn't get to talk about? I'm just like,
my
selfish.
gosh,
What else you got?
there's so much.
There's so much. We need a part 2.
Honestly, maybe there's a lot that we didn't get into. But if your brand has a mission that's larger than yourself, you're never going to run out of things to say. A lot of times people are like, I don't know what to talk about. You have endless things to talk about when you know that you're a figurehead in that space. And it could be anything from crocheting to crafting to you really love finance. I mean, you have the ability to use that platform. And also, if a lot of people are like, am I too old or am I too young to do this? Age doesn't matter. Also, people that are making a ton of money right now, I was able to hand $1,000 to my grandmother before she passed because of her ideas and just how amazingly progressive she is. And your voice really matters at that age. And a lot of older folks are not using social. So if you're able to use that platform, you can start a whole new career at 89 years old if you wanted to as a content creator. And you can make if you get a certain amount of views on TikTok, you're making $1,500 per video.
Wow.
Just from the platform. That's without the brand deal. So we could get into monetization too and how to actually price out your different posts. But remembering that it doesn't matter what age you are, if you're 89 or, if you're 23 and you haven't had a ton of life experience, people want to hear what you have to say as long as you are authentic, you are chatting to the camera and you are empowering other people, you're educating other people, or you're uplifting other people.
I think that's incredible. My only last question for you, and it's something that I ask everybody. I didn't tell you before you came on because I wanted to hear what you had to say, but I always ask everyone, what is something that fills your cup?
Moments like these, authentic conversations where, we're able to learn from each other. And in a world that is increasingly becoming more into your phone and constantly attached to devices, this is huge.
Yeah. I think it's great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. I know we almost made it. I was like, we're so close.
You're the best.
This is the brand deal we need to get.
Yeah. I love this. Thank you.
We have beforehand. We have like 30 seconds there. Like, vertical cry. We'll mess up your makeup. Ooh. All right. Well, from Meredith and I, please go out there, brew something beautiful. Don't be scared because we got your back.
Got your back.
This is your year. Let's do this. Get out there. Go get it.
Hey. Nailed it.
To everybody out there, thank you so much for joining me for Coffee and Conversations. Now, if you want more stories of motivation, inspiration, and empowerment that can fill up your cup when it's empty, no matter where you are, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more.